So I just want to explore this a little bit. So if I'm going to use this project and show you what we have here. So I'm going to go to the multilingual management. Now I want to get rid of Spanish here because I want to sort of start from scratch. So actually, I'll just start from scratch. So this is what you get when you start. Save the changes. Okay, so this is what you get when you first open this up. Now, if you've used multilingual external module before, then you're thinking, oh, I've got to create a field called languages and then put my languages in and all that. This is meant to replace that almost completely. This video is pretty good, by the way. This is a brand new video that they just put out a couple weeks ago. So if you want to watch this, you can. I just wanted to sort of give you a chance to see some of the different things that happen, because they were talking about drop downs and this and that, and I'm like, they don't work. But then I guess, researching, I figured out how to get them to work. So we want to add a new language. The first thing you want to do is add English. So there are unique identifiers for the language. So EN is one for English. And so to start, you're just going to put that in and add the language, and it will become the default. So you need to put in English because nothing works unless you put that in. So now I want to add another new language. I want to add Spanish. So I'm going to add a new language, but this time, rather than doing all this, I'm going to import a language from a file or system, and I'm going to add it from the available system languages. Now, this wasn't working in the past because I didn't know that I needed to go out and get some things, some files, and put them on our server and all that. But I have done that now. And so if you click this, you should see 4 different languages. Obviously, you don't need English, but in this case, we're going to do Spanish. If there's a language you decide you want to use, then let us know. I can add it because they have, I don't even know how many languages they have available to us to add to our instance, including languages that are right to left as far as how they read. So I'm just going to import the Spanish. It's going to add the new language. I'll add it, and now I've got Spanish. So I'm going to show you where that makes a difference to do that way. But now we have these. I'm going to save the changes at this point. You want to save changes all the time, or your changes won't be saved. And so it'll light up in yellow, sort of a weird place. There's no submit button down at the bottom or whatever, but this will light up as soon as you make a change. So I'm going to make English active and Spanish active so that I can use it. So without them being active, I can't even get started. And I'll show you that. I'll save the changes. But now we've got to start. Now we want to go to our forms and surveys because we want, I've got, by the way, I'm sorry, I've got forms in here. These are from class that we do, and these are pretty constant. So I'm going to go back to my multi-language management tool, and this time I'm going to go to the forms and the surveys. Now, this gives me an option to translate my instruments. So English is my default. There is no need for me to translate anything. Everything that's been created has been in English, so there's no reason to translate anything. So I need to go to the Spanish. Now, I can apply the translation to surveys and this only shows up if your instrument is set up as a survey. So in my particular case, I set the screening form up as a survey. If I did not turn that on, I'll go ahead and get out of here a minute, go to my project setup and turn this off. Come back to my multilingual management, go to my forms and surveys, and notice I don't have a survey option. They're only for data entry. So if you're going to do that, then you have to make sure that you have it set up as a survey. So I've enabled that, come back to my multilingual management, and here's my Spanish. I go to my forms, go to Spanish. Now I can start translating. So I'm going to just decide if I want to be able to translate data entry or survey or both. So I'm just going to select both for now. And then I'm going to go ahead and translate my fields. So these are the fields in my project. So this is very similar to the way it was with the multilingual external module in a way, but in that you had to put the English text and then the Spanish text. So here you are just taking like the subject number, and you're looking for this here, the text. So I'm putting that in here. This, let me pop this over here a second. So we can sort of look at this. So notice that there is a demographics header. It's centered. It's colored, all of that. So we want to do that same thing for the Spanish. So, I mean, this is simple. This is asking for the section header translation, which this is that HTML rich text stuff that is created so that you can center and make that a header. So if you want to have it mimic everything, you need to put that whole thing in there, not just the word. So now I'll put in the Spanish there, and this should work out just fine. Notice it greens it up once you've made a translation. So I'll just go through and do a couple of these. And then see it when you have the multiple choices, it just shows you everything right there. Okay, so you can, it makes it very easy. And again, it greens it out. So now I'm going to try to remember, I have to remember, I'm going to come up and save my changes. Okay, and you can see down here the little green, there's success, yay. Okay, now if I go to my survey distribution tools and I keep my fingers crossed, click on Open Public Survey, I am not seeing what I wanted. So I probably missed something here. So these are on. These are on. Okay. So notice that I did on the forms have to turn these on in order for them to show up. Just because they were default and just because you don't have to translate them, they still need to be activated. So actually, I'm going to turn on the e-consent too, just because. We'll save those changes. We'll come back to my screening form, and now you can see you get the option to go Spanish or English. See, and it translates everything for you. Okay, so that's sort of a start. But the other thing that's kind of nice about this is if I go to my record status dashboard, open up my screening form in the data entry view, I have this English Spanish option here. If I change to Spanish, notice that it now translates all of these other buttons, right? So that's what you get from importing the Spanish. Now, it doesn't do anything for some of this. Some of these things you would have to do yourself, but it's nice that you get all of these other translations. And if you look at all these other things, you can see the places where you can change text. So if there was an error or whatever, and there's an option here where you can search, or you could just hide translated items so you can see what's left to translate. If I go to the forms and surveys in Spanish and I want to translate the screening, I can. Oh, so yeah, I wanted to point that out too. So I'm going to go back a second. Sorry. So I'm here, I'm on my forms and surveys, and it says there's fields and there's survey settings. So the survey settings thing, sometimes I accidentally click on, I'm in Spanish. Sometimes I accidentally click on this and then I'm like, what did I just do? There is a fields option here. This is where I want to be for fields. And then I can hide my translated items so I know what's left. And really, it doesn't like hide them. It just collapses them and you can see what you have left to translate. So you still have to go through all that, but all that other stuff gets done for you. Now, what if you want to send out a alert notification in a certain language? You're going to need to know what language they've chosen. And we did this with antibody testing. We had to know, we used the multilingual external module. And if you remember, you created a field called languages, and you created your languages there. And like one might be English and two might be Spanish and whatever. That, by doing that, when you selected that field, it captured a value for that field so that you would be able to go and find out what language they selected by looking at that variable, and it would be held in the database in the back end, and you could reference it. Now, I haven't set anything like that up, so if you wanted to use whatever language and make further decisions based on what language they chose, in that case, you would need to go into your designer, create that field. And so I'll just add a field here. I'm going to make it multiple choice, radio button, language. And then variable name, languages, and English, Spanish, and save it. Okay. So now I have a variable that will capture those languages. But like some of the other functionality in REDCap, you want to tie in that language field to the multi-language management application part. So, like, for example, when you have a email field and you want to use it, you set up here, you're going to designate that email field and you're going to tie in the email field to the project. And we want to do that same kind of thing for multi-language management. I am going to use down here the language preference field and designate that field as to what the language preference is. So I'm going to come in here, I'm going to select that, and it's funny because REDCap already knew that that's the field that it wanted me to use. So it had added that already. I didn't, when I saved the changes just a minute ago. Oh, I know what I've done wrong. Oh, this is good. Okay, so here's what I did. I just used the old way. So notice that, you know how REDCap substitutes numerics for the languages. You need to use the same abbreviation that you're going to use in the multi-language management. So that needs to be EN and SP, and I'll save that. And now go to my multi-language management. And now when I select this, in fact, notice, see how it's green? It already knows that this is what it should be using, and it's okay. I don't have any red text down here telling me that there's any kind of an error. The changes were already saved when before on this. So otherwise you would have to save the changes, but REDCap sort of knows when you add those languages. So now if I go to my okay, this is my screening form. Now, if I redo this, I would normally hide this, but I wanted you to be able to see. I select English, and if I select Spanish, let me just go ahead and select English here. This really should change, I think, what we have here. Oh, I might not have refreshed it, but that was it. No, that should change the language. And let's see with my forms and surveys. My Spanish. My fields, languages. Oh, I'm just going to do this. Oh. I have my Spanish speaking translator over here, Ms. Google. All right, let's save that. And I want to make sure again that I've got my language in here. Go to my record status dashboard a minute, open that up. And let's see. It should grab these if I've done it right. I have seen it work that way. And notice, I love this, how even the little the note text below is changed. But this should tie in and make this work. But just in the interest of time, we're going to say it does work. Okay. The thing about that is now you can create conditions. So if you're building an alert and notification and you want to send out an alert in Spanish, you'll be able to capture what language they are by referencing that field. So if you were to say, languages equals Spanish, then you would put some kind of Spanish text in here for an email, and same with English. So too bad that doesn't work right. I know I've neglected a button somewhere, but I'm not going to worry about it, because that's something I could always help you fix if necessary. So, and remember, for all of these, if I'm translating the fields, there are all kinds of different things to translate. And you go through and do all the translations yourself. So that would also mean the translation of complete and incomplete and unverified. Okay, so having said all that, I hope that is helpful. It expands a bit on the multi-language management video, in that it allows you to this ability to select the language when you add a new language. This was blank, which is why it made no sense to me, why you couldn't find this. And so now I recommend, rather than starting with building this yourself, and because I wasn't really able to go back once I had started building with Spanish, I wasn't able to go back and then import all that other crap that gets translated, which is nice. So start when you add the language, import from file or system first. If you forget and you've already started to translate forms and surveys and you say, okay, well, I'll go back, and you delete the language and start again, there is a message that you will see. You will delete all your translations and you'll have to go back and do it again. If you've had any exposure to using the project setup in the survey. So if I disable my survey settings right now and then re-enable them, everything that I had set up for the survey would still exist because it is held in the back end of the database, and it doesn't go away just by enabling or disabling that. But if you delete a language, you actually are deleting all the translations for the fields, which is why, again, I come back and say, if you want all that nice added functionality, then when you add the language, go to the import. Okay? Questions? Nope. No questions. Well, having used both the external module and this, I highly recommend any new projects going straight to the multi-language management. Don't bother. I don't know that they will deprecate the external module anytime soon, but like some other functionality that started out as an external module and then was integrated into REDCap because it was so great. You know, somebody came up with an idea and then imported it, then it becomes part of REDCap, and usually they try to, at the very least, match, but usually improve it. Multi-language management is certainly a major improvement over the multilingual external module, and I wouldn't suggest anybody change. You know, if they have a project that's using multiple languages, I'm not at all suggesting or recommending you make any changes. The multilingual external module works perfectly. Well, usually it's working perfectly. We have some minor glitches. If you have one and you have a problem, reach out to me so that I can try and help work through it. But we don't expect that to be a problem long term. It just a couple of projects had problems. So, okay, that's it. That's all I got. Oh, shoot. One other thing I wanted to mention to you. Let's hang on one second. I'm sure you must have seen the message that came through from Vanderbilt. My last, I think it was my last version change. I'm going to bring this over here. So there were a number of new changes, repeating automated survey invitations. If you haven't seen this yet, a new smart variable that they added, and I've already seen this in that you can embed an image in your text or emails. You'll find there, just show you just in case you haven't seen this before, because it's kind of, you would easily not notice it. So if you go to the rich text editor, this little icon did not exist before. This is the add an image icon, so you can add an image into your label there, or if you're using descriptive text, you can put it in there. So you can look through all this if you want. Already they've added some improvements. The multi-language management piece that we were just going over is constantly being refined. So don't forget to check out the version changes every so often just to stay up to date. I'll try and keep you up to date, but it's like this right now. I am totally behind in being able to understand what's going on with these automated survey invitations. As soon as I am, I will do a little demo on that. Same with the new instance. I mean, these are features that I've not attempted. I have, however, seen the embedding images because that's an easy one.